What is up, guys? PodKack is here, and welcome to the PodKack number 4. Today's discussion will revolve around the question, did Bungie forget about PvE? Now, before we get on to that topic, there is some channel news I'd like to discuss. First and foremost, I don't think I've said thank you so far, because thank you for 200,000 subscribers. That is so awesome, you guys, and I might be doing a dedicated video just to that, but I just want to say to the subscribers watching this video and the people who maybe are about to subscribe, a huge thank you to you guys. Never thought I'd even be in this position when I first started out. Now, additionally, and some more channel news, I finally, upgraded my capture card, got an Elgato. I was using a Hauppauge, and so I can finally stream now. And I've been doing some experimental streams on the YouTube page itself, like with the YouTube live streaming feature, and the response from the people who've been in the streams has been really positive. You guys seem to really like the streams, so I'm gonna definitely try to do more of them. I really do want to move on to Twitch though. There's still a lot of problems with the YouTube streaming service, so if you guys are interested in watching those streams, definitely check out the Twitch channel. It'll be linked in the description of this video. Now, with that out of the way, let's get started on the topic. And this is a topic that I think is really interesting because it's one of those things where it's kind of gaining momentum. It's like a movement that's gaining momentum, even though people, including myself, have had, this opinion and have expressed these thoughts a lot earlier. But it seems like now a lot of people are united in this opinion that, Bungie has forgotten about, in essence, PvE. And I think it's really interesting because, when we're talking about Destiny players, like if you're a Destiny player, you can very easily break most Destiny players down into two categories: people who mainly play PvE and people who mainly play PvP. And those two different categories, those two different groups of players are going to have pretty different values and pretty different ideas of what they would like to see, firstly added to the game, secondly fixed in the game, and the direction of where they want the game to go. I mean, when we're talking about one of the most recent I was going to say catastrophes, but I think a better word would be, fumbles that Bungie went over, was definitely the whole connection thing. And I'm sure you guys are, well aware of this, but it's basically when Bungie decided to implement the skill-based matchmaking, and, secretly, actually, didn't tell us. We asked them, they lied to our faces, and they've reversed this now. So this is old news, pretty much. However, this is something that is a huge issue for the PvP crowd. If you think about it, if you're a PvP player, you love Trials, you love Iron Banner even, and, there's nothing wrong with being a player who really values PvP. This is going to be one of your main fighting points. You are going to be right in there in the discussion boards, in the comments, fighting for the connection to be better. That really matters to you, right? I mean, PvP, one of the main pillars of PvP is hopefully a good connection. But it's funny that, and this whole kerfuffle happened with this whole matchmaking system, but if you're a PvE-centric player, that really doesn't matter to you. And a lot of PvE mainly players, including myself, like, just to let you guys know so that you're aware of the opinion you're hearing, like where I'm coming from with this opinion, I am not necessarily a PvE only player. I've dabbled quite a bit into PvP. I've enjoyed my time, certain times I would say in PvP. I actually really do like Trials of Osiris. Yet I would definitely classify myself more as a PvE-focused player. I bought the game just for PvE reasons, and the vast majority of my time is spent in PvE. So, a lot of the players similar to me who dabbled in PvP were still throwing our hats in the ring, supporting the fact that obviously we'd like the connection to be better. In fact, some of the reasons why some of us have stopped playing PvP is because of the connection being so bad. But if you were a PvE basically only person, that doesn't even matter to you. That whole fight, those whole shenanigans really didn't matter to you. You were sitting there just, is there any new content? Like, is there any new weapons? Is there any new anything? Like, you are just not even connected to the biggest issues happening recently within Destiny, and that includes when they finally fixed it. Bungie has been getting all these applauds from everyone for finally fixing what they ruined in the first place with matchmaking, and then introducing the Crimson Doubles playlist, which I hear is not really that amazing. However, if you do like it, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. However, again, if you're a PvE player, that doesn't matter. A Crimson Doubles playlist, who cares? That's something that you're not interested at all in. And what about the thing before that? Sparrow Racing. And Sparrow Racing, admittedly, was a little bit more of a casual game type. However, that was really only if you could get 6 friends together. If you were playing by yourself, it was insanely cutthroat. Like, honestly, the Sparrow Racing, if you just went in by yourself, if you're a PvE mainly guy and you don't really have a bunch of friends you rock Destiny with, I think you would hop into a lobby, find it incredibly sweaty, and then you probably stop playing that pretty quickly as well. So what is going on? What's happening? What's being done for these PvE players? There hasn't really been any PvE content since the Taken King. And very importantly, people need to recognize that it's not just about adding new content in the form of DLCs. It's pretty clear that Bungie's priority in terms of the DLC added is with PvP. And it's really not just about content added. Think of all the events happening within Destiny. I've mentioned Iron Banner, and I've mentioned Trials of Osiris, and these are still ongoing kind of bigger events. Like when Iron Banner, every time it comes out, Bungie comes out as well with a list of updates trying to make everything better, with new loot that sometimes hasn't even been out yet. And so this is kind of still a big grandeur event, even though it isn't technically any new content being added. But these events are noticeably absent in any PvE form. There's only ever been really one PvE event, which was the Queen's, I even forgot what it was, the Queen's bullshit, where you just went around doing a couple of things for the Queen, a couple of quests over and over again. That out of the way, though, it only lasted for, 2 weeks? And again, it was one time, never ever came back. So that is another problem and kind of another slap in the face of the PvE-centered players. There's these constant updates for PvP. And let's just talk about updates for a sec. The buffs and nerfs being made are clearly designed with PvP motives behind them. Like, no one can argue that. And that although sometimes that Bungie comes along in an update and does offset some of the changes they've made for PvP reasons. They'll have buffs and nerfs. They come out, they have the list, and they'll say pulse rifles now do 25% more damage against PvE enemies, which is great. But it's funny to me that obviously they do that sometimes, which is exactly the right thing that they should do. Nerf made for a PvP reason. If a gun is overpowered in PvP, but it's not overused in PvE, it should be offset. And yet, it's not every buff and nerf that they do this. You'd think that they would be offsetting all the changes that were made for PvP reasons, but that's absolutely not the case. Fusion rifles have been nerfed 3 times in a row for presumably PvP reasons. I certainly haven't seen them anywhere in PvE in a long time, even just playing strikes. The level 36 strikes, I've played of the past 36 strikes, I haven't seen a single fusion rifle, so, that can't be good. In any event, these changes are, again, still being made for PvP reasons. Shotguns just got nerfed, and they've been criminally underused in PvE. So where's the counter buff? Where's the change for PvE to offset the PvP nerf? It just simply isn't there. And as a PvE player, you've got to imagine the people who are mainly interested in PvE, and they're looking at these buffs and nerfs, and they're just thinking, I'm ignored, I'm forgotten about every single time. I mean, I'm sure the PvE players watching this video would agree that I would love to see some of the exotics in the game, especially even some legendaries, some gun types, be upped for PvE reasons. Give us some more, exotics, give us some more different weapons and differentiation to utilize in the King's Fall raid. It's not fun going in there with the frickin' Black Spindle every single time. The Anguish of Dryston raid auto rifle is criminally underpowered, like it recoils like a beast without having really any benefits aside from its light level. I would love to see that thing get a buff, and again, that would be purely for a PvE reason. I don't think Bungie has really made any buffs and nerfs aside from the Galahorn and the Icebreaker for a purely PvE reason, and both of those guns were abandoned in year 2. Like, you can't even get the year 2 versions of them, so it was completely fucking pointless to nerf them in the first place. However, as a PvE mainly player, I'm obviously a little upset that However, as a PvE focused player, I'm obviously, a little upset that Bungie has, from my opinion at least, as you could, probably tell, forgotten about us PvE players. It's making all of its decisions based on PvP. All of the new content is PvP content. All of the attention seems to be directed on PvP. All of the events are PvP. But do I even have a right to complain? Because, admittedly, the PvP-focused community are the ones playing the game the most right now. The people hopping on trials every weekend are playing more right now than the vast majority of PvE-focused players. So, is it just kind of natural that Bungie has focused towards the players that are playing the game the most? They're tailoring the content, they're tailoring the updates to their biggest, most loyal fan base at the moment, which are the PvP-focused players. Now, although that argument can certainly be made, I really hope it hasn't been made in the Bungie studio, because I think it's catastrophically unfair. A lot of the reason why the PvP players are playing more is because, as I've just went over, they're getting all the attention. A lot of PvE players have left, but, leaving Destiny, it's not always a permanent thing. There's a lot of players who aren't playing Destiny. I'm sure you guys are watching this video even. They aren't playing Destiny, but they'll come back, they'll check the subreddit, for example, like every few days. They'll check the forums, they'll check what's going on. Hey, I'll check back. Is there any new content? Is there any crazy PvE events coming up that I might want to take part in? They see that that's not the case and they continue not playing. So the reason that, PvE players have, in the vast majority, left the game is because you've ignored them. So you're essentially digging yourself a deeper hole, Bungie, by paying even more attention to the PvP players. Now, if you're watching this video and you are a PvP-focused player, I want you to know that I don't mean you any harm, really. I'm not saying that I think your content should be taken away, or that Bungie should stop introducing PvP content. I even think they should introduce more PvP content, or that they should stop paying attention to PvP issues. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I think that even a PvP-focused player could see that Bungie is somewhat really not paying attention to PvE right now. And there's 3 simple steps on how to fix that. Bungie, these are the 3 things you need to do to pay more attention to your massive PvE focused player base. A lot of people bought this game just for the PvE. Number 1, you need to add more content. This is just a given. And sometimes it doesn't even have to be really new content. Updating the old raids or the Prison of Elders or old strikes, for God's sakes, would really help this game in terms of replayability in PvE. Additionally, I'm always asking for additions to the loot system. That would not only give people something new to play with, it would give people a reason to play if there were new weapons as new rewards. Introducing some new exotics even, or a new missing gun combination like Hawka's scout rifles. That would again add something for PvP and PvE. Crimson Doubles added nothing for PvE. Adding new weapons will add new content for both systems, making both player bases happy. Number 2, you need to start hosting PvE events. Like these events, like Trials of Osiris, like Iron Banner, are exciting events. If you're a PvP focused player, you'll come back to play Destiny for these events. Why is there nothing like this for PvE? And it wouldn't even be right hard. Heck, you can go on the Bungie forums and probably get 100 ideas within an hour. Frankly, they could just do something where it's a week-long event that comes every month or so, and it's a selection of raids with really hard modifiers. We're talking Nightfall level hard, probably even a little higher. Heck, even make it so that you can only play with 2 people, in your fire team. It's you and one other person, and if you die, you have to restart the entire strike, let's say. But completing these strikes would do just what they do for the Iron Banner. You're gonna get reputation for a certain new faction that has this new set of weapons, just like Iron Banner weapons, but in a PvE version. So there's gonna be all these new, like a new shotgun, a new whatever, again, just like the Iron Banner weapons, specialized weapons for this event, but it's a PvE centric event. How hard would that be to implement? Not that hard, I'm sorry. And lastly, point 3, Bungie, you need to actually take a look at the game from a PvE perspective for once and make some buffs, especially, and even maybe some nerfs, just taking into account PvE reasons. Look at the, Black Spindle in terms of pure PvE reasons. Maybe it actually deserves a nerf. It's freaking overpowered right now, I'm not gonna lie. I like using it, but even nerfing that, at least I would know, hey, well, at least Bungie is for once taking a PvE look at the game. And again, buff some of the guns that are never used in PvE. Fusion rifles, shotguns. I would actually love to see some more of the rocket launchers getting used. Really, not many rocket launchers are being utilized right now, except for a few of the exotic ones. Buff some of the legendary rocket launchers. Buff some of the legendary machine guns that are clearly meant for PvP and make them better in PvE as well. There's a million things you could do to rebalance this game in PvE, and we know you have this fancy little tool that'll let you buff guns damage against PvE enemies, therefore fixing a PvE problem, and therefore also keeping it completely unrelated and unaffected in PvP. So the PvP players get to go on doing whatever they like, and the PvE players get the benefit of the buffs and nerfs. You've done this a couple of times, you need to start doing it again. And the video is wrapping up here, but I just want to say, before it ends, Bungie, please, please embarrass me. Please, make a fool out of me. Please, prove me wrong. I would love for this video to come out, and then the next day, Bungie announces that it's finally remaking the raids, or it's introducing some new strikes, or introducing a PvE event, or something, in the future. I would love to be wrong about this. But there's no evidence at all provided by Bungie to say that I'm wrong. And that's the problem. We have no idea, in the Destiny community, we have no idea what's going on. We have no idea the future of this game. And you guys keep saying, oh, it's really cool. Well, we're not going to believe that. You can't just say, oh, it's really cool, just you wait. Why don't you give us an idea of what is coming? It wouldn't be that hard to say, within the next few months, we are planning to add substantial new PvE content. If you release a statement like that, I think a lot of players would be very happy. But you haven't released anything like that. You've released something that said there's something big coming to the game. That really doesn't tell us anything. Is it another amazing PvP event? Because if it is, which, judging by your pattern in the past, is going to exclude a massive amount of players. Again, Bungie, prove me wrong. Introduce some new PvE content. And if you're watching this video and you're a PvE player, please remember to rate and share this video so Bungie finally realizes that there's more than just PvP players that bought Destiny. That there's a whole group of us who are feeling neglected, ignored, and we still want to be a part of this community. So that's it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Now if you want to see more Destiny content, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. Now if you want to get in touch with me, the best way by far is to contact me on Twitter, and that's going to be linked in the description down below, as I've said in the beginning of the video, my Twitch channel, which you can follow as well. Now again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.